I spent the last dollar in our bank account to plan a beautiful dinner for my wife Charlene's 30th birthday. I wanted to prove that, no matter how tough life had gotten, I could still do something special for the woman I loved. I sold my Xbox, my fishing gear, even skipped lunch for weeks just to save up $600. That restaurant, the candles, the low lights, the soft jazz, it was the one she had been talking about all year. She looked stunning that night, in a black dress that hugged her like a secret. For a moment I believed everything was okay, that maybe, just maybe, I'd done something right. But then, she excused herself to take a work call, and as I walked toward the hallway to ask if she wanted dessert, I heard something no husband should ever hear. Half hidden behind the coat check, Charlene whispered into her phone, laughing under her breath. "He's so pathetic. Blew the last of our money on this stupid dinner, thinking it'll fix our marriage. Don't worry, once his mom dies, we'll get the house. Then I'm out of here." I couldn't breathe. The woman I'd poured my youth into, loved, defended, sacrificed for, was planning a future with another man, using the death of my sick mother as a stepping stone. I stood frozen, my heart shattered in silence. But I didn't storm over. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I walked back to our table, sat down, and when the waiter came by to ask about dessert, I ordered both options. Charlene raised an eyebrow. "We can't afford both," she said. I smiled. "You only live once, babe." And in my head, just one question repeated itself. How long has she been planning this? That night, after the birthday dinner I once believed would be the lifeline to save our crumbling marriage, Charlene crawled into bed beside me and fell asleep like a child. And me? I lay there, staring at the ceiling, playing every word she whispered in that hallway on repeat. Once his mom dies. At 3 a.m., I quietly slipped out of bed. I knew I was about to cross a line, invading my wife's privacy. But when someone stabs your heart in the dark, the lines of morality start to blur. I opened Charlene's phone, and I found hell. Hundreds of messages with Jensen, the co-worker she'd always said was just a friend. Flirty exchanges, sugary sweet nothings. But the part that made me sick, how they laughed at me, how they talked about my mother's house like it was a prize just waiting to be claimed. I already told him we should move in soon to take care of his mom. We need the house under our name ASAP. He won't suspect a thing. Poor guy was trying so hard to be romantic last night. I screenshotted everything. Each image felt like another knife in my chest. I emailed it all to myself, backed it up to an external drive, hid it like a cursed treasure waiting to be unearthed. The next morning, Charlene kissed my cheek, playful and sweet, as if she hadn't been plotting to bury me alive. I kissed her back. Software. Warm. Just like always. Because now, I wasn't the pathetic man she thought I was. I was the quiet storm forming on the horizon. And my first move? Protect my mother. That morning I drove to my mother's house with a storm raging quietly inside me. How could I possibly tell a woman battling illness, the strongest, most loving person I've ever known, that her daughter-in-law was plotting to take everything? I found Mom in the kitchen, struggling to make banana bread with trembling hands and eyes that still held the brightness of years gone by. I stood there in silence, watching her for a while, my heart breaking into pieces, love, guilt, and fury all tangled together. How did I ever let her be dragged into this filthy game? After tea, she placed her cup down and looked at me with the kind of gaze only a mother has. The kind that makes every child who's ever lied squirm in their seat. "What's going on, son?" I told her everything. The dinner, the phone call, the texts, the plan with Jensen, and that chilling phrase, "Once his mom dies." Mom didn't cry. She just let out a long, quiet sigh. Her eyes held no anger, no panic, just a deep, endless sadness. So, I wasn't wrong to feel she was overly attentive. I thought I was just being paranoid. Charlene, the woman I once believed was my partner for life, had been visiting Mom for the past 4 months, bringing pastries, helping with chores, asking about her meds and gently hinting about adding her name to accounts and simplifying property paperwork. What Mom thought was kindness was step one of a calculated heist. I took her hand. "I won't let her take anything from you. I swear. Mom smiled softly and said, "No one can take anything from me. Not when I've got you standing behind me." That very afternoon, I scheduled a meeting with a senior estate attorney, someone Mom had been reluctant to see because Charlene always said she'd take care of the paperwork. 3 days later, my mother's house was placed into an irrevocable trust. Every inch of her estate was now protected by law, far beyond the reach of anything Charlene could ever manipulate. As Mom signed the papers, she chuckled. "Well, guess I'll have to live another couple decades just to watch her squirm." The room laughed, except me, because I wasn't thinking about revenge. I was thinking about the next move. I wasn't going to reclaim my dignity. I was going to take back everything she thought she could steal. Since that fateful night, I was no longer the pathetic man Charlene whispered about to Jensen. No, now I was the lead actor in the final act of this marriage, and she had no idea. I started playing the part, the overworked husband, drained from bills, from stress, from caring for an ailing mother. Charlene, she swallowed it whole. She got softer, sweeter. She even offered to talk to my mom herself to help ease our financial burden. Bold, incredibly bold. That's when my real plan kicked in. First, I opened a private bank account. Slowly, I started moving money from our joint funds, just a few hundred here and there, under excuses like paying off credit cards or helping a cousin. Then with my lawyer, I secured every legal document needed to protect my mother and her house. Now, even if I dropped dead tomorrow, Charlene couldn't touch a brick of it. Next, I gathered evidence. My buddy Holden, a tech wizard, helped me recover every deleted message from Charlene's phone. Full conversations with Jensen, explicit photos, plans for their future together. I backed everything up. Hard drive, USB cloud, 3 copies, 3 lifelines. And then came the first test. I told Charlene that my cousin Juliet needed $3,000 for surgery. Juliet, of course, didn't exist. Charlene sighed, her voice sharp. "It's always your family. When do we ever think about us?" I looked her in the eye, smiled calmly, and said, "You're right. It's time I started putting myself first." She smiled back, clueless. But I knew. The game had shifted. 2 days later, Charlene announced a girls' weekend with coworkers. A flimsy excuse, especially when I'd already read the message she sent Jensen. "This weekend, you and me, the cabin, no interruptions." Thank you for clearing the stage, Charlene. The moment she drove off, I called Holden. Within 3 hours, everything I owned was out of the apartment. At the same time, my lawyer delivered a full divorce package. Photos, text messages, audio recordings, financial statements, and proof the house was safely locked in an irrevocable trust. Delivered straight to that cabin, where Jensen and Charlene were dreaming of a future that would never come. Sunday afternoon, I turned my phone back on. 13 missed calls, 21 texts, and one final message. "You can't do this to me. I have nowhere to go." I sat in my mother's house, Lane making tea nearby. Mom looked at me, smiling gently. "The world can turn its back on you, son, but I never will." I nodded, then looked up through the window at the clear blue sky. For the first time in years, I could breathe. 10 a.m., Sunday. While Charlene was still sound asleep in Jensen's arms at their cozy mountain cabin, a courier rang the doorbell. He left behind a thick envelope, sealed with the logo of my attorney's office. Inside, divorce papers, legal documents confirming the separation of assets, bank statements proving Charlene's secret savings behind my back, a USB containing every message, photo, and voice memo, detailing the full plan between her and Jensen, a legal certificate placing my mother's house into an irrevocable trust, and just for good measure, a tiny glitter bomb, because a little petty is sometimes perfectly justified. 11 a.m. Lindsay, Jensen's wife, arrived at the cabin. Face like stone, no words. She handed Charlene a file, printed texts, photos, intimate ones, all of it. Jensen stood frozen. Charlene's face went pale, her lips trembling. How did you know?" Lindsay's answer was simple. "Your pathetic husband turned out to be smarter than you thought." 12 p.m. I sat in my new apartment, phone buzzing nonstop, 13 missed calls, 27 messages, 4 voicemails full of frantic sobbing. First message: You're not seriously going through with this, are you? Second, Lindsay found out. Jensen kicked me out of the cabin. Fourth, please answer. I have nowhere else to go. 3 p.m. I called her back. Charlene was crying, babbling apologies, blaming stress, claiming it was just a moment of weakness. She begged to start over. I waited, let her finish, then calmly asked, "And what about the house? The part where you were planning to take it after my mother died? Was that a moment of weakness too?" Silence, sharp and sudden, like a slap. I continued, "I've moved out. And FYI, your secret account. Legally split. The house, locked in a trust. Jensen? Yeah, he blocked your number. You lost everything, Charlene. Everything." Then I hung up and blocked her. Permanently. 3 months later, Charlene is living in a cheap motel on the edge of town. Her contract got terminated. No friends, no support. Jensen crawled back to Lindsay. And Lindsay sent me a message. "Thank you for giving me the truth." My mom's thriving. She and Lane are planning an RV trip across the West now that the house has been sold. As for me, new job, more stable, and most importantly, a life with zero lies. But Charlene's nightmare wasn't over yet. The old landline in her dingy rental apartment rang. A jagged, piercing sound that sliced through the silence like a razor. She jolted awake, hair tangled, mascara still smeared on the pillow. She rushed to the phone, breath caught in her throat, thinking it might be him, but it wasn't. "Charlene Miller?" A woman's voice, sharp, metallic, unmistakably calm, and deadly. "Who is this?" Charlene whispered. "Lindsay Jensen, legal wife of your boyfriend." Silence, then, "Thought you should know. I'm not just his wife. I'm also an attorney. I just filed a lawsuit against you for conspiracy to defraud and asset manipulation. Check your email." "Oh, and those photos of you and my husband at the cabin? Not exactly flattering." Click. The tone buzzed. Cold. Final. Charlene stood frozen. Her fingers trembled as she unlocked her phone. Dozens of emails, messages, bank alerts, notices from attorneys, family, even the press. And the final message from Jensen. "He's gone. Not just from me, but from you too." Charlene collapsed to the floor, staring at the photo on the table. Her and the man who used to be her husband. Smiling, pretending, lying. That photo, once a memory, was now evidence. And her ending, possibly years behind bars. A twist of fate? Number. It was midnight knocking at her door, and its name was the price of betrayal. After everything, I didn't just escape a toxic marriage. I survived an emotional assassination, a game where I was the pawn, the target, the walking wallet, but not anymore. Charlene, she has nothing left. When she returned from her little romantic getaway, there was no home, no money, no Jensen, who dropped her the second his wife walked in, legal documents in hand. No allies. No one left to blame. She called me, first with rage, then with pleas, then silence soaked in desperation. I have no one left, and I said nothing, because once I had no one but her, and she chose Jensen. She chose to wait for my mother to die, for money. My mother? She's moving in with Lane, a kind man who brings her laughter and warmth in her final chapter. They live simply, but they live. As for me, I'm starting over. A better job, a bright little apartment, a rescue dog named Max, and weekends that don't feel empty anymore. I'm no longer pathetic, as Charlene once whispered behind my back. I'm the man who rose from the ashes she left behind. Do I hold a grudge? Number, I choose forgiveness, but not forgetfulness. I choose life, but never to look back. And if you're listening to this, if you feel betrayed, discarded, or drained, remember this. You are not weak for walking away from someone who broke you. You are strong because you dared to live again. This isn't just the end of a story. This is the moment I stepped out of the shadows and finally came home to myself. If you've made it this far, thank you. Not because this story is special, but because maybe, just maybe, somewhere along your own path, you felt what it's like to be lied to be overlooked, to be left behind. And yet, you're still here. I'm not sharing this to complain. I'm sharing it to say, you deserve the truth. You deserve to be loved the right way. And if someone is plotting to take advantage of your kindness, show them you're not that easy to break. Because yes, the truth can hurt. But living in a lie, it will destroy you from the inside out. If this story meant something to you, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and share this with someone who might need to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next true story. Raw, emotional, gripping, and maybe even the wake-up call someone's been waiting for. Thank you for listening to my story.